Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hello and a very warm welcome to the competitive rowing channel. I'm here at the Bio workshop in Vienna in Austria, and this video is about one of the best straight forwards I've ever seen. Back then, this was the fastest lightweight 4 by far. And the lightweight 4, just like the lightweight men's double, was a extremely competitive boat class. Extremely, to the degree that you couldn't even compare it anymore with the open weight categories. And for me, it rings true that probably if these guys could have weighed in with 75 or 80 kilo average, they would have beaten the hell out of the heavyweights. I'm pretty sure about that. What makes this force so special, in my humble opinion, is not so much that they are perfect, because in my humble opinion they are not. But what makes this force so worthwhile watching and studying for you young, inexperienced rowers out there is that it doesn't take heroic things to be fast. It takes discipline. And discipline is what makes this four stand out from everybody else. Here is what I mean. In every stroke, there are certain patterns of motions we have to follow. Now, the first pattern of motion is the finish. Don't get me wrong, here at the finish, sorry, this is not a good picture. Let's try this one. At the finish, a lot of people try to pull up. Forget about that, it will not work. If there is only decent force on the blade, you cannot pull the oar handle up without reducing the force you have on the blade, which is not what you want. What you can do, however, is make sure that you do exactly the same thing as everybody else. You tap down at the same point of time. You tap down as low as everybody else. Not just for one stroke. And that's the thing I mean about discipline. You have to be absolutely predictable and reliable. In sweep rowing, significantly more than in sculling. Everybody else in the boat depends on you. One person is off, the boat's ruined. It is as bad as I say it is. And that is what most people don't understand about the 8, or the 4, or the pair. It's not like that you try something, okay, I try to tap down so and so deep, and then you kind of forget about it, your mind wanders off. No, your mind can't wander off. If you decide to tap down as deep as, for example, Bowman does here, then you better do this every single stroke. And this is your only thing to focus on, so that everybody else can get accustomed to that. A sweep boat is a team boat that you don't row alone, but you need somebody else just to go straight, just to stay balanced. And that somebody else is not your left hand or your right hand in sculling. It is a different person with a different mindset, with a different focus ability. And you need to be so predictable that everybody else can rely on the fact that you're tapping down that low. Now, if somebody says, hey, you need to tap down a bit lower, you literally set your program, okay, that is how low I'm going to tap down. I'm going to hold it for 30 to 90 strokes, await more feedback. If that is okay, I will be like a clock and do precisely that. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what sweep rowing is all about. It's not heroic single efforts. It is a team effort. And team effort is such a cliche word. And in many competitive teams, everybody has to prove her himself all the time. But interestingly, the boat only will go fast if you're truly predictable and reliable as a part of the team. I, for example, as a coach, I value predictability in a sweep boat much more than individual strength. Because ultimately, all your individual strength will not be worth a penny if you cannot integrate it into the entire concept of the boat. And the smaller the sweep boat is, the more important this factor becomes. If you look at this 4, you see that everybody has not just one tap down. You see here, there's first one tap down, And then just monitor this blade and this blade right here. I know it's not the same height. Okay, this is not perfect. And monitor what's happening now. The hands go slightly away from the body after a decent pause. And then there's another tap down. Yes, this is not perfect. No, it is not. But the boat is stable. They're repeating this. This is why I said, don't expect this boat to be perfect, but expect it to be disciplined. Disciplined that they are doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. One thing is very interesting here at the catch. I think they're leaning too much with their body weights onto their hands, but what they're doing extremely well is that they're deliberately raising the arms to get the blades into the water. They're not aiming to stretch forward a lot. They're aiming to raise their arms into the catch position, which means they have to reduce body weight from the oar handles and put it onto their seat. And if you do this exactly at the same point of time, because it is an agreed upon motion pattern, bam, then this boat will be fast. So for you sweep rowers out there who are struggling to make a boat go fast, for you coxswains out there, don't look for the one perfect person in the boat. Request predictability. Request reliability. And if you ask somebody to change one detail, don't throw the whole load on them. Tell them one thing and don't expect everything to be solved. Tell them one thing. And I know you will probably see 8 more things that you could tell that same person. Don't do this. Tell the person one thing to change. And everybody else needs time to adapt. Before this 4 was able to row so well, I'm pretty sure there were differences in many ways, just like we see the difference in the tap down. Once more, exit. See, it's the same again. No, it is not perfect. By far not. But they do have the predictability that they will do it precisely the same every single stroke. Is there a washout at the finish? Yeah, there is a washout. Is this perfect? No, who cares? Rowing is not about being the perfect rower. Rowing is about being the most reliable one. And as the rowing motion is a highly repetitive motion, discipline in forcing yourself to stay true to certain new motion pattern is the key. This is probably the main topic of this entire video. Let's look at their overall style once more. A distinct pause at the finish. You may like this or you may not like this. I personally do. The question is why? Sorry, I said I was going to play this, but I'm not. The pause at the finish helps sweep boats to find a common ground to start all over. This is where you feel the immediate effect of your precision and you tap down into the boat. Have you messed this up? You will sense it because the boat will now be offset at that very moment. You will be, with the pause, deprived of the opportunity to post correct with the hands away, which is what you should not be doing. The way I usually coach this at the finish is that you tap down as far as there is space. Space is a limited factor here at the finish. Then your hands lead out a slight bit and then you tap down once more a bit deeper, just like the legendary Olympic champion New Zealand 8 did it. As they move out, it's not a rushed hands away, it's a controlled hands away. It is the outside hand that determines how low you are. You see, he could be tapping down a bit lower. Not necessary. Predictability is key. The knees hold down fairly long except per stroke. So yes, there are individual deficiencies. As they come forward, their inside shoulders, all 4, are distinctly lower than the outside shoulders. However, they are able to have both arms extended. 3 not, stroke does, 2 does, and I believe bow does as well, but that's just an assumption on my end. How is this possible that some people bend their arms and some not? Well, there are physiological differences between athletes, but there's also one thing that I realized. There were quite many sessions where I had to change sides within the session. And the more you row sweep, the more you learn to be flexible around your shoulder girdle. And the longer you row, the more you realize is that the catch itself should not be taken with your arms, but you should deal with the entire force around your shoulder girdle, not in your arms. Why? Because the shoulder girdle is much closer to the core, to the trunk, which is the main source of force during the upper body swing and during the leg drive. The legs, yes, they do propel quite a bit for the first third of the entire drive, but for the 2/3 remaining, it is a combo of legs to upper body. And if you look at the Swiss 4 here, look at how far they lean back. It is a lot. You can actually literally see the leverage. Legs to upper body, all 4 of them simultaneously. I personally think that this is probably, if there's any secret, one of the main ingredients to their huge success. It is legs to upper body transition that was absolutely synchronized. This is a factor that I miss with many novice sweep boats. For the sake of feeling stable, a lot of new sweep athletes do a leg to arm transition, completely leave out the upper body swing. The upper body swing can feel scary because it's something where you can't really control the blade depth anymore. You fully rely on the weight of your upper body. And in order to make the upper body weight count, you have to be able to control your pelvis here on a recovery at that stage, which requires you to keep the hip joint in place, which requires you to keep the knees down. Keeping the knees down allows you to rotate the pelvis over the hip joint. Then you end up at the catch at a stage where your lat should be stretched to a certain degree and your shoulders should be low, especially the outside shoulder in sweep rowing. If this is not the case, your upper body swing will not work. So you see there are quite a few ingredients that actually make it quite difficult to use the upper body swing. Once you have mastered that and your coach has seen the deficiencies and coached you to the degree where you can actually now harvest the upper body potential because you have a stretched out lat, you have long shoulders, long outside shoulder, like here, this is almost perfect. Then you can do the legs to upper body transition. If you're able to do this all 4 together, this is undeniably quick and strong. There's almost no recipe against it in a positive way. Let's recap this 4 once more, what makes it so special. It is not the individual perfection. It is the predictability, it is the reliability, it is the repetitiveness of absolutely predictable motion patterns. And there are 2 things. It's the pause at the finish. No, it's actually more than 2 things, my apologies. The pause at the finish that allows you to sense if or if not you have messed up the exiting of the blades out of the water, if you have messed up or not the tap down. Then with the hands away, almost all of them are able to hold their knees down until a decent part of the upper body rotation has been completed. Towards the catch, they deliberately raise their arms to get the blades into the water. Yes, you may see a bit of shooting the slide, for example here in bow, but it's the lesser of the 2 evils. And then you see stretched out, low outside shoulders, an upper body swing that is patiently awaited and doesn't happen right at the catch, but is synchronized just before mid-drive. And that synchronicity of the upper body swing allows them to generate tremendous boat speed.
Wow.
Into the stable pause at the finish. This, ladies and gents, I think are the most important ingredients when it comes to sweep rowing. There's much more to be said about this. I want to keep this deliberately short. I hope it was interesting for you. Thanks for the channel Swiss4 for uploading this very interesting video. If you want to work with me, my name is Aram. My website is aramtraining.com. If you have any questions and any comments, any requests, please contact me on rowing.zone. My handle is @Aram, and I'm looking forward to see you in the next video. Until then, all the best. Bye-bye.